Hey everybody, I'm Commotion. Today I'm going to be doing a review of the 2015 WR250R. Yeah! So I've had this bike for about 8 months now. I've put 2,700 miles on it. I have rode it in all conditions: rain, snow, mud, up mountains, freeways. I've done it all. And so I think I've got enough under my belt to go ahead and do a review on it. So we'll go ahead and start out with the pros right off the bat. So number one, toughness. This bike is very tough. I mean, as far as falling over and hitting rocks and being able to pick it up and it'll start back up every single time, and that is a very nice commodity to have. And the WR250R is the toughest bike I have ever ridden in my whole life. I have no concerns about taking this bike down any road in America, and I know this little WR will get me out of it. And there's a lot of bikes that I've had in the past where I didn't feel that way. The number two pro I want to talk about is the maintenance schedule. This bike has a wonderful, long, drawn-out maintenance schedule. After the initial 600-mile oil change, the next time this bike needs a major service is at 26,000 miles to have the valves checked. And that is just absolutely wonderful. The third major pro I want to talk about is it's fast. For a 250cc bike, so the fourth major pro I want to talk about with this bike is how good it is stock. And what I mean by that is a lot of bikes, especially these little dual sports, as soon as you buy them, you want to change a whole bunch of stuff. Like, the seat needs to be changed out, or the brakes need to be changed because they're absolute garbage. With this bike, I don't feel the need to change anything. Right out of the box, right out of the showroom floor, this little WR is a great bike. I don't feel the need to change the muffler to add more horsepower. I don't feel the need to go out and change the seat because it's garbage. I don't feel the need to change the brakes. It brakes fine. Stock, this is a great bike, and that's one of the major benefits. The fifth major pro I'll talk about is the fuel injection and the liquid cooled. You think, well, why is that a pro? Well, it's a pro because when you start looking at dual sport / adventure bike, especially if you're going to buy one used, unless you buy one very, very recent, most likely you're going to be buying a bike that's carbureted, that you still have to choke. The WR, the CRF 250L is really the only two bikes out there right now in this class that are liquid or fuel injected. All right, so we'll talk for a minute about the mods that I've done. As you can see, I have kind of the sport touring package on right now. I just have some saddlebags I bought off Craigslist for 60 bucks. It also came with a big Cortec tail bag, but I don't have it on because it doesn't fit very well. I just have a $10 Walmart bag there. I got a $10 Kmart gel seat. So that's why I have the sport touring stuff on there. I've actually just did 270 miles with this setup, and that was my first really long trip I've ever done with this motorcycle up in the mountains. And I'll tell you what, I was comfortable the whole time. The bike performed very well. I got up to like 75 miles an hour at one point on the highway for about 10-15 miles, and then back down to 30-40 miles cruising around curves up in the mountains. It was very nice. I mean, I had a wonderful time. I had plenty of luggage. Now the bike's a 2-gallon tank, and the sticker says 70 miles to a gallon. I averaged about 65 miles to a gallon. So that gives me, 130 mile range. So I'll put up some pictures without all the sport touring stuff on there, so you can see what the bike looks like. But this is what I'm doing lately. I'm trying to see what I can do with it far as taking it off long distance, do some long distance trips. Because this bike right now, a lot of people want to compare it to the CRF250L, the DRZ400, the Kawasaki 250 SF, but it doesn't really match with those bikes. First and foremost, because it costs so much more than those bikes. This bike is $1,600 more list price than the Honda CRF250L, and all the other bikes are around $4,500 or $5,000, something like that. And so this bike doesn't really compete with that. So let's look at some of the mods that I've done to it. I put some Zeta handguards on it with integrated flashers. They work pretty good. I wish I would have flipped these. I have them on the way they say to install them, but I saw a video where a guy actually flipped these like this, and that puts the flasher up on top, and it's actually more visible that way. Eventually I'm going to do that, but the reason I haven't done it because I have to change the wiring, obviously. But eventually I'm going to flip those. I've cut the front fender off, no big deal there. I did a tail tidy. Let's see, what else have I done? Oh, I put a skid plate on it. I got a Ricochet skid plate. It's not on right now. I'll put a picture up of it. I bought it straight from the Ricochet distributor, and they actually painted it gold for me to match my forks. They did that for free. That was kind of cool. And that's pretty much all I've done. When I was looking what kind of bike to trade it in for, I'm very partial to Honda's A. But I actually looked at all of them. I looked at the DRZ400, I looked at the Kawasaki, I looked at this, and I ultimately narrowed it down. I even looked at the KTMs, but I realized the KTMs are out of my league, so as far as price-wise. So ultimately I narrowed it down to the Yamaha and WR and the Honda CRF250L. And the main reason I narrowed it down to those two is, like most people, the liquid cool fuel injection. So it came down to those two. Well, the WR is $1,600 more than the Honda. So I was like, well, it's an easy sell then, right? I mean, I'm a Honda guy. This bike is $1,600 more than Honda. This should be an easy sell for me to go back and just buy the Honda, have a nice day. But when I started doing the research, when I went and sat on the bikes, the Honda, when you sit on them in the showroom floor, it feels more like a street-oriented bike. When you sit on the WR, you feel like you want to go jump a 20-foot hill. I mean, you feel like you just want to go ahead and hit a bump and just rock it off into space, because this bike is straight up set up for off-road. This bike has greater travel in the forks, the rear suspension's got higher ground clearance. When I just started looking at it, when I was talking to a whole bunch of people that really know these bikes, I was eventually decided that the Yamaha WR was a better bike for me than the Honda CRF250L. Now, the Honda CRF250L, everybody I know that has one loves it. I've driven one. I really like it. It's lower to the ground. It's a good bike. I think everybody I know that has a Honda CRF250L, they love it. There are no complaints there. I just feel like this bike was better for me, and I still believe that 8 months later. Okay, so let's talk about some of the cons now. First and foremost, the biggest con is going to have to be the price. Price is relative. People that buy BMWs and KTMs, they believe that extra $4, $5, $6 grand for those bikes are worth it. They see the value in it. But for people that's looking for the 250cc dual sport bike, this bike is pricing itself $1,600, even $2,000 higher than some of the other ones on the market right now. And for a lot of buyers in the US market, that is turning them off. And for that reason alone, that's when I'll say price is kind of a negative, because it does turn people away. Anything that turns potential buyers away, you gotta list that as a negative. Okay. So the second con I will say is the seat height. This bike is, I think, 36.7 inches tall. So it's almost 37 inches. This bike feels every bit of it too. I mean, I'm 6'2", 185. And this bike is pretty hard for me to get a leg over. Now, on the showroom floor, it wasn't a big deal for me, right? But when you're on the side of a hill trying to pick this thing up and throw a leg over it, man, it can get pretty difficult at times. I have another friend that bought a bike identical to this just a month after I did. And he's only 5'8", probably like 200 pounds, and he's went through so much trouble trying to get that thing lower. I mean, doing the Yamaha link and adjusting the sag and lowering the forks an inch or two. I think he's got it down to about 34 inches now, but it's been pretty expensive and pretty difficult to get that thing lowered. But you know, he's done all that work just to get it to the same level as a Honda WR250R. It's the same seat height as that. So, you know, that's something to think about with this bike. All right, so the third con I'll talk about is the poor display. This bike's display is pretty weak. I mean, it's the one that's been around, I think, since the 2008 WR250X. It's just giving you a odometer, doesn't even have a tachometer, doesn't have a fuel gauge. I will tell you this, I put 40 miles on it the other day with the fuel light on. I did it on purpose because I was trying to actually run it out, because I was trying to figure out how much range I had with my extra fuel tanks there. The display itself is honestly pretty dated. They need to update this. I mean, it's a $6,600 bike. It's 2015. Put a decent display on it. I mean, if Honda can put a decent display on the Honda Grom, and it's a $4,000 motorcycle, then the WR should have a decent one as well. I mean, there's no reason why they can't take the one off the FZ07 and put it on there. It's the same stuff, you know. The other two cons I want to talk about, they're not necessarily cons that would keep me from buying a bike, but there's something to talk about. They're things that I think Yamaha can improve for the next model, or to update the WR. And the first one would be to fix this clunky gearbox. People on the forum say that they've put a lot of miles on WR, say that the gearbox will smooth out a lot like most bikes over time, but I can tell you right off the bat, the gearbox is kind of clunky for me. And the second thing to that would be improving first gear. So obviously they have to set the gearing for this baby so it can handle street bike riding. But with that being said, you can't forget about, you know, being able to climb that hill as well. And I think that they can improve first gear. There's times where I've noticed where I've been trying to climb something pretty difficult, pretty difficult terrain, and first gear is almost like, oh, first gear has been pretty struggling at times. So those are the two things I think that they can improve on and update for this bike. Along with the shitty display, they can improve the clunky gearbox a little bit, and they can improve first gear. I like to see a little bit better first gear. These are Georgia wild blackberries here, in case you're wondering. And they're delicious. You can't eat too many at one time though, they will make you sick. Delicious. Look at all of them over here. Oh, look at this. Look at them over here. Oh my gosh, these are so good. All right, time to get back on the road. But they were good. Oh, give me one more. Oh, look at all those over there. Can I get to them? Can I get to them? Oh, look at all these blackberries. Man, you can make jellies out of this, pies. And they're good. Okay, back to the review. One other thing the Yamaha has over the Honda is footrest. You say, where's the footrest? You see these little wings right here? Dun, 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 dun. Look at that. How comfortable is this? Totally not safe, but it's comfortable. But if your legs are cramping, you need to let your feet air out because you got some foot odor issues, you can do that. There's a big old bull right there. What's up, brother? These all your women? This is your harem? What's up, moo cow? Look at the goats. What's up, goat? Oh, he's hung. Oh. That's what you get. Holy crap, that's a big dog. Oh shit.